So you can use June the 4th, this Thursday, the European elections, to demand a referendum from Gordon Brown. The referendum he promised, along with everyone else, back in 2005. The best way to get that referendum is to vote Conservative. Today, we are publishing the bill, the parliamentary bill that could go through Parliament right now to give us that referendum in the autumn when the Irish hold theirs. That's what should happen. This is being done in your name. Don't you think all of us should have a say in the referendum that we were promised?
When the House of Commons votes, as it now will, on a referendum on Europe, you will be voting for a referendum.
No, the issue of a referendum is not our view that there should be an in-out referendum. I don't want Britain to leave the European Union.
Why not give people a choice?
Well, I think, I think it's the wrong answer for Britain. What most people want in this country, I believe, is not actually to leave the European Union, but to reform the European Union and make sure the balance of powers between a country like Britain and Europe is better. That's what people want. I'm sure we can make steps forward. Am I right, my friend? The Health Secretary will do that.
Peter Bone. Mr. Speaker, 373,000 Daily Express readers want it. 80% of Conservative members support it. The Deputy Prime Minister would love it, and my wife demands it. The British people, Conservative supporters, the leader of the Liberal Party, and especially Mrs. Bone, cannot all be wrong. Prime Minister, can we have a referendum of whether the United Kingdom remains in the European Union?
I wish my wife was as easy to please. I was worried about where that was going. I'm afraid I'm going to have to disappoint the Honourable Gentleman and Mrs. Bone. I think we are better off inside the EU, but making changes to it in the way that we're setting out. I don't know about this vote, so, you know, that's a mistake. I'll have to go and look at this vote.
Mr. Martin Popperwell, David Cameron agrees that gay equality is a fundamental human right. That would suggest that on such issues, his parliamentarians should be made to vote according to the party line. But he then slips up by appearing to imply that MPs, peers and MEPs could be free to vote whichever way they like.
I've tried to have free votes where possible on these sorts of issues. But I'm responsible for votes here. I'm afraid, sorry, it's not a very good answer, but I don't, you know, I'll have to go and look at this particular vote in the European Parliament.
Look, when you say you often have free votes in this Parliament, the Parliament for which you're responsible, if you accept, as you did at the beginning of the interview, that gay equality is basically a fundamental
No, sorry, actually, you're right. No, I mean, I'm not the answer about... Sorry. No, you're right. The two votes are very different. Sorry. You know, I think it's right. It's right that it should be a free vote. This is a backbench amendment. It's Wahid Ali's amendment.
Yes. You say it's a free vote. You want us to vote for you. If we vote for you, we want you to vote for us.
I do. Can we stop for a second? I really want to answer these questions. That is really complicated. Either can we do a television interview or can we do a press interview? I'd almost like to start completely from scratch.
The magazine interview then continued once he'd collected his thoughts.
Why is marijuana illegal when alcohol and tobacco are more addictive and dangerous to our health, but we manage to control them? Wouldn't education about drugs from a younger age be better?
Well, there's one bit of that question I agree with, which I think education about drugs is vital, and we should make sure that education programs are there in our schools, and we should make sure that they work. But I don't really accept the rest of the question. I think if you actually look at the sort of marijuana that is on sale today, it is actually incredibly damaging, very, very toxic, and leads to, in many cases, huge mental health problems. But I think the more fundamental reason for not making these drugs legal is that to make them legal would make them even more prevalent and would increase use levels even more than they are now. So I don't think it is the right answer. I think a combination of education and also treatment programs for drug addicts. I think those are the two most important planks of a proper anti-drug policy.
But the argument that it could be used as medicinal properties, that was another question we actually had, a person saying it's got proven medicinal properties, if used properly and regulated properly, could actually be quite helpful.
Hello Mr. David Cameron, my name is Kane Derrick. With the 1974 Virginia study, 2007 Harvard study and 2009 Madrid study, all showing that the active compounds in marijuana shrink and destroy tumorous and cancerous cells with no toxic side effects, when do you think it's a good time to start medicalising marijuana and saving lives? Thank you for your time, Mr. David Cameron.
That is a matter for science and medical authorities to determine, and they are free to make independent determinations about that. But the question here about whether illegal drugs should be made legal, my answer is no.
Okay.
My Lords, pray be seated. My Lords and members of the House of Commons, my government's legislative programme will be based upon the principles of freedom, fairness and responsibility. The first priority is to reduce the deficit and restore economic growth. My government's overriding priority is to ensure sustained growth. My government will foster growth and employment. My government will also strengthen key public services, ensuring that individual entitlements guarantee good services. My government will seek effective global and European collaboration. My government will continue to reform and strengthen regulation of the financial services industry. As the economic recovery is established, my government will reduce the budget deficit. My government will introduce a bill. My government will legislate